Welcome back to another episode of the Isn't That Rich podcast. Today we are talking about 10 common misconceptions people have about money, because there are a lot out there.
A lot of them.
And some of these I can really relate to, because before I started working in the banking industry, they were real for me too. I had these same misconceptions. So I'm glad that we can clear these up today.
Yeah, I've had a lot of these too, so I'm excited to go through them and just talk about them. It's fun. A lot of them we're going to upset Dave Ramsey over.
I think so. Let's start with the first one. Let's get right into it.
Yeah.
So the first common misconception people have about money is that more income equals more wealth.
Yes. And I mean, to an extent, that is true. If you make more money, you have more money, but you can also spend all of that money. We were talking about this yesterday, and in that book we read, it says Mike Tyson was a millionaire and the next day it was all gone. I mean, you can be a millionaire and spend all your money. It doesn't mean that you're going to be financially stable or have wealth just because you made a bunch of money.
Right. And I know when we talked to John Forbes in previous episodes, he really hits on this too, is like income doesn't equal wealth. No. So how you are even rich doesn't equal wealth.
No,
you know what I mean?
How you manage your money, save your money.
Yeah.
Because if you make a lot of money, that's what people do. It's like keeping up with the Joneses. I'm going to make another dollar. I'm going to spend another dollar.
Yeah. But if you're spending at the same rate that you were spending previously when you were making a lower income,
right,
then you're really not gaining wealth.
Yeah.
In the long run.
I think people feel just a little restricted if they're making more money and then they, you know, keep living in the same budget that they had to.
I'd like to talk about like how when you're job searching, that income might not actually equal an actual raise. Sorry, does that make sense? So like income at one job might not equate to the same income at another job.
Or a promotion.
Right.
Like you're saying.
Yeah, so I want to tell the story because I think it's a good one to kind of put in perspective. So I have a family member who is up for a huge promotion, and they were trying to decide whether he should actually take the promotion or not. So this promotion equals more time that he's going to be away from his family. And it also, he's getting paid hourly right now. So an hourly wage, and he actually gets a better benefit from his health insurance right now. So the company that he works for pays a higher percentage of his health care benefits right now.
And that's huge.
And that's
People
a
don't
big
realize
deal.
how much benefits cost.
Right. And so if he goes up to this different position within the same company, but he works now on a salary basis, they pay less of that healthcare insurance for his family. And so now they're trying to decide, well, is that equal to what he's making now when he's going to have to be paying $500 more in health insurance a month, which is crazy to think that people actually have to spend that much on health insurance. But it's just something that you really have to weigh when you're considering getting a promotion for a job.
Yes.
So, and a lot of times it looks better. The grass is always greener on the other side.
Yeah.
So you might see a job posting, like say you're getting paid $50,000 an hour, or the 50. I wish $50,000 a year. That's your salary, right? In your current job, and you get all these benefits, like 100% of your health insurance is paid for, and you get 4% contributions to your 401k, and you're looking somewhere else and they have $70,000 annual salary. Well, that might look really attractive, but it might not actually equate to what you're making at $50,000 salary. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration when you're talking about not only your income, but then your wealth in long term.
Exactly.
So when you're comparing jobs, or I mean, you can think about that when it comes to working for yourself too. Mm-hmm. You know, what your company actually pays you.
And then what things are you going to have to pay for yourself? For
yourself if you go out on your own. So lots to think about when it comes to income versus wealth. It might not always be as green as the other side looks when you get there.
Yes, so good. That's a great misconception.
Yeah. So another misconception, what's the second one?
Okay, so credit cards are always bad. We hear this one all the time.
Oh, especially.
And that's not true.
I don't think it is true either.
It's not true. Now, I do think if you're somebody that credit cards are a loan, right?
They are a loan.
And credit card companies are very rich because people have issues with spending more money than they actually have. And so credit card companies will give you a line of credit that's probably bigger than the amount of money that you're pulling in every month. Right. I know mine has, because I pay my stuff back, goes up every so often.
Do you ever get those emails from your credit card company just being like, oh, you qualify for another limit upgrade or
It's
raise your
total
limit?
marketing.
Yes.
They're just trying to get you to spend. You're like, oh, I can spend more. No, it doesn't mean you're making any more money.
Yeah.
It's that they're letting you spend more of their money.
Their money.
Yes, but credit cards are not a bad thing. And we go over this in episode 12 of our podcast, and it's called Credit, How to Play the Game and Win. And it's a great episode. It's one of my favorite ones. We learned a lot on it. But credit cards aren't bad. And you can earn rewards, build credit, which is crucial for your finances, especially if you're wanting to get any kind of loan, like a home loan one day. Mm-hmm. Very important. So no, credit cards are not bad. Sometimes they may be bad for certain people. So that's something to consider.
Yes. If you use them incorrectly or without caution, then they can definitely be a hindrance on your finances for sure. But if you use them properly, there are a lot of benefits, like you just mentioned.
Yeah.
So, and I think Lexi did a really great job in our previous episode explaining why credit cards can be a benefit. They are a safer way to spend. So
absolutely.
We've talked about that already. So.
Yeah. Even with like disputing fraud, I think that's so cool. So go back and listen to it. But anyway, that's a misconception that credit cards are not always a bad thing.
No.
All right, Jill, what's our next one?
The next common misconception is that home ownership always makes financial sense.
Oh, this is a hot button topic.
I know. I think that in certain circumstances, it does make sense for people to buy a home and live in it, or build a home and live in it, but not always. I was thinking about some of my family members that just moved away. They bought a place in Ohio, and they had their business helped them move and had all these benefits to getting them there, which is great. But they're only planning on being there for 3 years. So they had to really sit down and decide, is homeownership right for us? If we know we're only going to be in this home for 3 years, does it make financial sense for us to take out a mortgage on this home? Am I going to be spending more on this home in the next 3 years than I would be if I was, renting a place in the same market? I don't know if it's worth it for them.
Yes. And we think about the interest rates right now, or just interest in general. And I would say the rule of thumb is usually you should stay somewhere for at least 5 years to build a little bit of equity in the home to take out.
Yeah, because the first 5 years, you're honestly paying mostly interest on your loan. Yeah. So you're not going to have any income in the first 5 years.
Yes.
Or I'm sorry, any equity rather in the first 5 years of your
So it's like what you're saying. Okay, everybody says, well, rent, you're just throwing your money out the window. Well, at the same time, in a way, if you're not building any equity in your home because you're only paying interest, you're kind of throwing that money out too, and you may be paying more.
Giving it to the bank, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they had a special circumstance where, their company does pay for them to sell their house, or they take care of all that stuff for them. So theirs is kind of a diamond in the rough where it doesn't happen for everybody. Really but under this circumstance, they decided to own their house and buy a home out there. But if somebody didn't have those same benefits from their business and helped them move and whatnot, then it might not be a good decision for them. Or say you're a young person and you're, staying in a city, you're trying it out for a little while. Is it worth it for you to buy your house right away? I don't know. It might be easier for you to rent for a little bit.
No. And I talk to people too, and I think about this. When you own a home, and I'm obviously learning this because I'm building a home right now, but everyone's like, oh, you're going to have this bill, and you're going to have to mow your own grass, and you're going to have to take care of everything. And so if you're somebody that maybe doesn't want to take care of a bunch of stuff all the time, or you're a big traveler, maybe renting is the thing to do, because someone else is your grass is always going to be mowed. And if a light's out, you call the people and they fix it, or you name it. Right. There's pros and cons for sure to renting and to home ownership, but I wouldn't say that home ownership is ultimately the American dream. That's something that was sold.
Yeah, by our parents and their parents, right?
Yeah, it's so interesting to see what different generations care about.
Yes,
and I don't know if like my kind of generation and younger, if that's what they actually care about. So
right.
It's interesting to see a narrative shift.
I think a lot about the elderly too. As people age and they sell their big family homes they once lived in, I can think about, my grandparents right now. They have this huge house to take care of, and that's really something for them to consider is, do I want to sell this home? I've got all this equity in this home. I live free, right? But I also have so much maintenance on this house. Like, is it worth it for me to have to mow the grass, to have to garden and pay people to do that now, where if they were to move into a community where, say it was a condo or something else, that might not be such a hassle for them. So
I can't wait to move into a retirement community. I'm very excited.
Ashley's the life of the party, though. So
I love friendships.
Little social bug.
I love friendships. So I'm very looking forward to, maybe I should just own one of those right now, a big retirement home.
I mean, it would be fun. I always thought it would be fun to have a community, like when you go to college.
Yeah.
It's so
like
fun
a dorm
to live in a
room
community in the dorm. What about for people our age that are, if you were still single, I think that would be so fun to have a community, the same kind of setup, right?
I know.
I don't know. Retirement community for the middle age, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the next one, Ashley? What's the next misconception people have?
All right. So emergency funds are not necessary, which, oh my gosh, I've seen this so many times. Just with friends or even somebody at the bank. I remember like 6 months ago, they were like, had to dip into my emergency fund. Something happened. I think like retire. I don't know. Something crazy happened, but people having to dip into their emergency funds. And it is a nice just piece of money set aside so that if something bad happens, because, rainy day always comes, they say that you need money for that. And you don't want to dip into just like, I don't know, your fund money or your checking account.
Right. I love the profit first way of saving money. And it's typically meant for businesses, but I love to do that for myself as well. So I have my bank account set up where I don't have 7 different bank accounts like Profit First kind of preaches, but I have 4 different bank accounts, and one is my emergency fund, one is my savings account, and I have 2 checking accounts. That one pays for my expenses and one's just income. Yeah. So I feel like that's a really good way to set it up. So I know that I always have some money set aside for emergencies because they do happen, like you said, quite often. I mean, things come up so quickly. Like I just had a doctor's appointment that I had to pay for, out of pocket, because I had already gone to my one annual visit and now I had to go again for this other wellness check. And I was glad that I had money set aside because that bill was like $500. And if I wouldn't have had money set aside, it would have been a big deal. So, yeah.
I love having an emergency fund, and I just set it to where I just throw like $10 a month in it. And I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but I haven't experienced any emergencies. So it's just like keeps rolling in there. And so it's nice just to have in case something happens, because something will happen.
It's true.
Yeah. So don't think that you don't need an emergency fund. And sometimes I think when you're first loading it up, it feels like, or opening it, it feels like, I only have $10 to put in this. This isn't going to help me. But then once you have $20 and then 30, 40, and it keeps growing. And then, you'll be glad you had it.
You will. Yeah.
Kind of like insurance.
Absolutely. So the next one is investing is only for the wealthy. And Ashley, I know you love investing. So why don't you talk about this one?
I love investing. And it's not only for the wealthy, it's how you get wealthy.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's for everybody. And you can start on a small level, a big level. There's just so many books out there about it. I'm reading like a really great book right now called Girls That Invest. And it's just talking about, she's going through all these misconceptions about how people think you can't invest if you don't have X amount of dollars, or like your family didn't come from this or that. And it's just entirely not true. And I'm excited actually because we're about to talk to a lawyer about some things happening in Illinois, but there's a new law that just got passed where
every business
has to like set up a retirement account or what's that called? What am I trying to say? Like
give an option for their employees.
Yes, for them to invest in. I think that's great because a lot of people aren't taught about investments, and then you just think, we talked about this on plenty of episodes before, but you just think that when you're 65 or whenever you retire, that the government's just going to give you a bunch of money, and like that's just not entirely true.
Yeah,
and
you just really can't depend on Social Security or anything that the government's going to take care of you. You got to be prepared for anything.
Yes, and so you can definitely start investing. You do not have to be wealthy to invest. It's how you become wealthy. And so, I just encourage people to read some books, watch some TikTok. It's really easy. There's lots of apps you can start investing on. Ask your employer if they have a retirement option for you. Mm-hmm. You don't always have to get with a financial advisor.
No,
they're good.
Yeah,
absolutely. I have one. I love having a financial advisor. Very grateful that I do, but that is not, you don't have to go to one to get started.
Right. And I think a lot of people think because they don't have a job or career right now that has an option for a 401k or something for retirement, that there are not any options out there for them to invest for their future. So I think that's another misconception within this investing one, that they don't have an investing option. Well, there are so many options out there available that are for almost nothing.
Go buy some crypto. I mean,
you can invest $500. You can buy, you can put $500. There's minimums to CDs, but they're low. The threshold for that is pretty low. So a safe way to save that if you're really risk averse is with a CD with a local bank. You can walk in the doors and ask questions right now, and you'll get a bigger return on your investment than just letting it sit in your bank account.
Absolutely. So. All right. The next one is a college degree guarantees financial success. I don't even think we have to really talk about this one, but
no, I think, and I am a millennial, and my parents, it was very important that I went to college right away after school. It was important for them that that was their goal for me. You always want better for your children than you had for yourself. My parents were, my dad has a college degree and whatnot. My mom was, but they wanted more for me. And so they really pushed college. And if I were to have kids right now, I don't know if I would be pushing college on them to go right away after school. There's so many ways that you can learn, whether it's, our local college here, John A., the trade schools. There's such a need right now for trade. Those trades that are kind of dying on the vine, right? I wish I was
a construction worker.
Electrician. Oh my gosh, right? So there are so many other jobs out there and career paths that are paying pretty dang well.
Way more than some things that, for a degree you can get.
Right. So I don't know. A college degree does not guarantee financial stability.
No, not at all.
So plus, what did you go to college for?
Public relations and journalism.
Yeah, and now you're in marketing. Mm-hmm. So I guess it helps you.
It definitely helps me, but I feel like I learned everything on the job. I don't feel like mom and dad, I'm sorry, I didn't pay attention a lot in college. I was doing my homework at 11 o'clock at night. I was that kid. So.
In college, I feel like anymore is kind of a social experience.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that I went.
Yeah.
But now if you're like a doctor or a lawyer or something like that, or an accountant, you need to go to college. And if you decide to pursue that career path, for sure, I think you'll be absolutely successful if you do a good job at some things.
Yes.
Some of these degrees now that they're making up, and I don't know.
I think that it used to be so much of a focus that now it's become less of a focus. And I think your experience that you go through, you'll gain more knowledge.
Yeah.
Well,
I think even the narrative too is that you look on job applications and it'll say you have to have a bachelor's degree for this. And that's just, not that it's not the case anymore, because you do have to have degrees for some things, but sometimes it's just who you know in a job. And they know that you're a hard worker and and you're comprehensive and can.
Yeah. A lot of times you can teach a position, you can teach a job, but you can't always teach a personality or that a character. So if you have a really great character, I would almost rather take the person who's going to show up consistently to work, who's, is a person of integrity, than somebody that has that 4-year degree behind them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, what's the next one, Ashley?
Let me see here. Well, number 7, financial advisors are only for the rich. We kind of talked about this a little bit, but they're not. They're not only for the rich. I think anybody can have a financial advisor. It's going to cost you some money, but you don't have to be rich to have a financial advisor.
No. And there's more options now than there ever have been available, like robo-advisors. You can jump online and find a robo-advisor within minutes, tell them what your savings goals are, and they'll pretty much set you up for exactly what you tell them to. AI is wonderful.
Putting the financial advisors out of business. No, I hope not. I love humans.
Yes.
Yes, but it's not only for the rich. But they can help you with some things.
Yeah. The next one is you should always avoid debt. Now, this is a touchy one because debt can be extremely bad, but I know we've talked in previous episodes about good debt versus bad debt. And good debt is the kind of debt that's going to help you gain wealth, like investing in real estate. A lot of people invest in real estate. It's the only way that they can purchase a home, where they can purchase
Is to go into debt.
is to go into debt, right? To make those first big purchases of your life. But bad debt is that credit card debt or that personal debt that you acquire that is not really giving you tangible equity in anything.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And I would say too, sometimes people say that like student loans are, bad debt. But I kind of think, if you're somebody that wants to be a surgeon and you have to go into student debt to become a surgeon.
Right.
To have that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the best investment is
thing.
in yourself, really, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of investment is...
Now, if you're going into debt to buy a Lamborghini and
you can't afford a Lamborghini.
You live in a double wide and can't afford a Lamborghini. I'm not saying that people...
You can't pay your water bill, but you're buying...
You can't pay your water bill.
Yeah. No, that's
a
great example. I think debt can
be a good thing.
Can be a good thing, and it can help gain wealth.
Yeah, I would rather not be in debt, but it's not a bad thing.
Right. Does stress me out, but...
It's good for you, okay? Get a little debt because then you're going to keep working, okay?
Right. Yeah.
There you go.
What's the next one, Ashley?
All right. Number 9 is that budgeting is too restrictive. And I would say to that is absolutely not true, because if you're not doing a budget, your money's going to be bossing you around. And that's not freedom at all. I think budgets are a great thing. They help you prioritize where your money's going to go. So if you have bills, which you will, I would hope that you could pay them. And so budgeting for those bills and your needs and your wants is a great thing. It's not restrictive. Sometimes maybe in the beginning when you're starting it out, it kind of feels that way. But I promise you, once you kind of get through your first month of budgeting, like we've done before, like tracking your spending, it's honestly so freeing, and you can look at things and say, I don't have to spend my money on that. And you don't have to, because your money can't tell you what to do.
Right. We have an episode about how to budget in a way that makes it more freeing. Because when you think about budgeting, I think of immediately like, if I fall out of line with my budget, I am a failure. Like that's immediately what comes to mind is, so if I step out of my budget, I'm a failure. But budgeting it's about being able to ebb and flow with what's going on in your life and what your values are at that time of your life. So if you sit down and make a monthly budget or an annual budget, it actually gives you freedom to go in the direction you want your life to go. So
For sure. I feel like the more you budget and you stay on track, it's like what you're saying, Jill. Now the future's getting better. You're saving more money. You're investing more because you're telling your money where you want it to go. And then that just leads you to more financial freedom in the future.
Absolutely.
When you're not budgeting and using your money correctly, that's when you'll kind of maybe live in financial distress, or you're just going to get 5 years down the road and be like, oh gosh, 5 years ago, I wish I would have XYZ.
Started doing this. Yeah. The last one we're going to talk about today is money equals happiness. And if I know anything about money equals happiness, it's not true, right? So more money, more problems. No, I'm just kidding. But really,
I love money. And for like when you get money or you get something, I mean, I think it can make you happy, but happiness is a fleeting feeling. I feel like you learn that in every single sermon, podcast you hear. Yeah. Happiness is just a fleeting feeling.
Right. And I know a lot of people search for that happiness or money equals happiness because what does it actually mean to you? Well, money equals freedom to do the things that you want to do, which what are the things you want to do? Is it serving other people? What is the end goal of your money?
Yeah. And is it buying for your family?
Yeah. Is it the free time that you don't have to go to a job and clock in and out? Is that what money means to you? Is that the value that it gives you? Or is it, what does happiness actually mean? You have to define that before you let money define what happiness is.
Right.
Yeah.
Because money can be taken away from you any second. I mean, for real. You don't know. It's a tangible thing that can just, I don't know.
And if you place all your value on how much money you have.
Yes.
Yeah. Then once it's gone, what do you have left?
Yeah, because I'm saying like you can go broke. So what if you are living in a ditch?
Yeah.
I mean, you can still be happy.
That's right. I feel like that's a really good way to end it.
It's a great way to end it.
Money does not equal happiness, but you define your own happiness.
Yes.
So good.
I would just say, everybody, just test things. Don't look at misconceptions or don't look at what somebody said on the internet and just be like, yep, that's got to be true. Love you, Dave Ramsey, but you're not always right, you know?
Right.
So test things for yourself. I think we've gone through some really great misconceptions today, and I've definitely felt this way about all of these. And so just working the bank, like we've said, and just talking through some things, I think it even makes you feel even more financially free when you know all of this stuff.
And we're all raised differently to have different beliefs about money.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that so many times before, but I really want to hit home because what you've always been told about money, growing up with it, whatever it is, might not be true today. So talk to somebody. Financial advisors are not just for the wealthy, and bankers are here to be your friend and not to be that barrier between you and your finances.
Really good. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next week. So, Jill, where do we go from here?
Be sure to check out our show notes for this episode, and also be sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our newsletter. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.